Now, going back to Minneapolis, why can't we just say we made a mistake? I will ask you one question, if you can just give me a quick response. Who does Tom Homeland work for? You or the president?
The president.
Okay. Why is that? Because I believe the president recognized that you weren't getting it done in Minneapolis, and you're putting us further away from pointing to this. We're beginning to get the American people to think that deporting people is wrong. It's the exact opposite. The way you're going about deporting them is wrong. The fact that you can't admit to a mistake, which looks like under investigation, is going to prove that Ms. Good and Mr. Pretti probably should not have been shot in the face and in the back. Law enforcement needs to learn from that. You don't protect them by not looking after the facts.
It was a chaotic scene, as you've seen in Minneapolis and St. Paul, as immigration enforcement has gone forward, and we've worked at targeting the worst of the worst, that many times our agents have been faced with violent
the victims of
protesters.
that violence domestic terrorists as a way to calm the scene?
These violent terrorists have put them in a situation where it's unprecedented what these agents have faced. So that situation on the ground that day was chaotic, and it was something that they were transpiring and sharing information with us.
Terrorists. Can you explain why you decided to brand these victims that we all saw on video, who were out protesting the activities of your agency and were killed as a result of it? How did you think that calling them domestic terrorists at that scene was somehow going to calm the situation?
You know, Senator, we are working in those situations where there's a tragic loss of life and that there is something that our agents are involved in, that we continue to deliver information.
Is it so hard to say you were wrong?
Phenomenal to me is immigration was your president's #1 issue, overwhelmingly popular with the American people. But now it's overwhelmingly unpopular. And it's not because you are deporting dangerous people that everybody here wants out of our country. No, it's because you're going into our schools. You're terrorizing our children. You're detaining children. You're arresting Americans. You're breaking into our homes. You're terrorizing our streets. You're violating our rights to peacefully protest again and again and again.
None of
and then
that
when a
is true.
court tells you
None
to
of
stop,
that is true.
and then when a court
You are
tells you
trying
to stop,
to impede
you
us
violate
from enforcing
judges'
the
orders.
law
Not
and
in a
getting
partisan
dangerous
way,
criminals off of our streets,
Republican-appointed
so
and
we don't have more
Democratic-appointed.
families like the ones that are sitting
Don't
behind
sit there
me.
and tell me that
Lost
you are
their children. They're
responsible
gone forever.
for the running of your agency when you're not even aware. Either you are utterly incompetent or you are violating laws with impunity. You should step down from your position. If you don't, you should be removed by this president. And if not, Congress should impeach you.
Yeah, I appreciate the encouragement.
Did you determine whether there was any basis for the sensational claim, a claim that proved to be utterly false, that these two victims were engaged in domestic terrorism?
There is an investigation ongoing. The
I'm aware of
FBI
that.
is leading
What
that.
I'm
There's
asking
also
you about,
internal
though, is not the
investigations
investigation that's
that
ongoing.
are ongoing.
I'm asking you
We'll continue
about,
to bring the facts forward.
Excuse me, Madam Secretary. I'm asking about your statements. In the immediate aftermath of these shootings, your statements based on completely unvetted information that if it was even provided to you proved to be utterly false, that you were content to tell the whole country. Do you have any concern about misleading the whole country? Don't you think in the immediate aftermath of a shooting that you should provide only vetted information to the public? How do you imagine you're going to gain the trust of the American people if you're pushing out false information about the shooting of American citizens?
I work every day to get factual information to the American
you
people.
You didn't on the day that Alex Pretti was shot, and you certainly didn't on the day Renee Good was shot. You weren't getting out good information. You were making a spurious claim that has caused endless injury to the victims' families on the basis of God knows what. And then your agency doesn't allow local investigators. They essentially push away independent investigators. How is the public to have any confidence in investigations done of excessive use by ICE agents if, number one, you make immediate and false statements about the victims, and number two, You don't let any independent agency conduct an investigation. How is the public supposed to believe anything your agency says or finds?
These investigations are being done in the same way that they always are.
No, they're
and
not being
the
done.
FBI is
They're not
leading.
being
There
done
are
the way they
internal
always were,
investigations
because you're
as
not
well.
allowing-
In these situations,
You're not
ICE has an
allowing-
internal investigation.
Excuse me.
Well, would you like to hear about the investigations that are ongoing?
Excuse me. You're not allowing state and local investigators to
That is
participate.
not my decision.
And furthermore,
The Department of Justice and the FBI decides how
they're not
investigations
being
go.
conducted in the way investigations are always done.
Chung-Li Tao, are you aware that agents bashed in the door of a U.S. citizen, a Hmong elder with no criminal record?
I can't speak to the specifics of that case.
Did you see the photos of that man being dragged out of his house in Crocs and in his underwear?
Yes, I did.
Do you believe that he was involved in fraud?
I do not know where that status of that investigation is.
Are you aware that he is a son of a beloved nurse that treated our soldiers in Vietnam?
I believe that we have laws in this country that need to be enforced and need to be applied
Your
equally to
agents,
everyone.
speaking of enforcing the laws and following the laws, did they have a judicial warrant when they rammed through an American citizen's door?
Our law enforcement officers follow the same protocols and procedures that all law enforcement do.
Are
as
you
to how
aware
they
that he
move
tried
forward.
to show his identification to show that he was American citizen and they didn't want to see it?
Again, these officers conduct themselves in processes. If something was done inaccurately, then certainly we will make sure that we correct it and rectify it in the
Are
future.
you aware that the person they were looking for was in prison and had been in prison for years? His
Yes,
name
I
is
am.
Lou
That's
Ma?
a target. Yes, we do targeted operations going after and
Do
looking
you
for.
agree that it is unacceptable for your agents to ram into someone's door and drag someone out in their underwear and below zero temperatures when they have the wrong guy?
Our officers conduct targeted operations and utilize the law processes that are given to them and the
You will not answer that
tools.
you think that's wrong.
They needed to identify that individual, and
They
that
couldn't
individual.
identify him by looking at his identification. Instead, they had to drag him out, throw him in a car, and drive him around for an hour.
Do you know what your agents did to Javier Ramirez? He was on his own private property when he was assaulted by masked agents, his own property. Without a warrant, without consent, they said, get him. He's Mexican. He was violently slammed into the ground while being handcuffed and taken into custody, despite telling officers that he is a United States citizen and even showing them his passport. And when he was asked what he was being arrested for, you know what they said? We don't know. Wouldn't you agree that targeting someone just because he is or looks like he is Mexican when he is a United States citizen is wrong?
Senator, we do not target people based on their race or ethnicity. We do targeted operations
Well,
based on criminal backgrounds and
this story
information
goes
that we
on,
have.
Madam Secretary. Javier was detained for over 4 days.
Steve Bannon, long an advisor to the president, one of his earliest public supporters, recently said that ICE should be deployed at the polls in the next election. Will you rule out the deployment of ICE or CBP to polling places this November?
There are no plans to have ICE officers at our polling locations. And
I'm glad to hear that, but would you rule it out? Would you say it will not happen?
do you plan on illegal aliens voting in our elections, Senator?
I do not. In
Okay,
fact,
then
the
there should be
Heritage
no need to,
Foundation-
unless you plan on illegal
Madam
aliens
Secretary, the
voting.
Heritage Foundation recently concluded that over a 20-year period where they reviewed hundreds of millions, billions of voting cases, they found only a small handful of actual cases of illegals voting. So I'm concerned by your rebuttal, which suggests you may be unfamiliar with 18 U.S.C. Section 592. Are you familiar with this federal statute that relates to sending armed men to polling places?
There are no plans to send any of our law enforcement officers to
But
polling
Madam Secretary,
locations,
you're
sir.
clear it would
There
be a
have been
federal
illegal
crime
aliens.
for you to do so.